talk to the likes of municipalities. You need to talk to the likes of PROs. The PROs, the full name is Producer Responsibility Organizations. So now PROs like PETCO, Polyco, and them work with the EPR regulations. E-Ghana used to be landfills, like I'm saying, but kids, that's where we find our material, right? To make your little cars, to make other toys, something to play with. We take it, to put it in the back of a bicycle, make it sound like a bike. Businesses, Ekasi, did not start off as businesses. Most of them start off as a way to survive, right? So as a result, a lot of them don't know what they're doing.
Just surviving.
Yeah, at least in Chelsea, you know what I mean? So there's no financial management. They don't separate business income to personal income. They don't pay themselves a salary. They just swipe from the business. So that's why you find most of the businesses not growing.
Hello to everybody at home. It is Sibusiso, and we are here at Rosebank at the TechnoServe offices with my guest Thabang, and Thabang will just introduce himself.
Hello to everyone at home. The name is Thabang Lentsoana. I'm an implementation manager at TechnoServe South Africa. Thanks for having me.
All right, thank you. It's only a pleasure. So, Thabang, this is an episode of our Biz Talk where we get to teach people a bit more about business. We get into business and we see, although we actually get to know more about organizations that make a difference here in South Africa in terms of the business landscape. So we would actually, before we get into anything, we'd like to get to know a bit more about you. Can you please just tell us a bit more about yourself, your family, your background, where you're from? Yeah.
All right. That's a great way to start. A little bit about me. I'm actually from Soweto, born and bred. I was raised in Soweto. 2 older sisters, a couple of nephews, nieces. And yeah, now I'm here in Rosebank.
All right, great stuff. That's great to hear. So then, can you please then tell us just a bit more about your role? Just a bit more about TechnoServe and your role here. What exactly do you do at TechnoServe, and what does TechnoServe do?
Well, TechnoServe has been around for over 50 years now.
Okay.
And we are a global organization. We work in about 35 different areas or regions in the world. Sub-Saharan Africa, we're in Mozambique, Tanzania, Nigeria, Ethiopia, and of course South Africa. We generally work with enterprising people, and I think enterprising is very important in this case because we look for self-starters, right? We look for people who decided, I'm not going to stay here, I'm going to move myself, right? I can't find a job, I'll start a business, we work with those people, formalize them.
Okay. No, that's a very great initiative. That's a very great initiative that you are doing, and we definitely do need that a lot in this world. Looking at all the challenges that you are facing and the poverty that you are facing. So we definitely do need a lot more organizations like yours. So, specifically, what I'd like to talk to you more about is your program, your waste management program specifically. So in terms of your waste management program, then before we get into the program, what's the first thing you noticed about waste or recycling in your own community growing up?
Growing up in Dobsonville, you see a lot of things that don't really make sense. We have a waste issue in the townships. When I grew up, we had e-Ghana everywhere. Right? You step outside the yard and there's an informal landfill that's there. But at the same time, you find a lot of abomakhereza who are walking around looking for the same materials. And then you find businesses that do waste management that are suffering. So that to me didn't make sense. How do you suffer if your material is essentially free? People are throwing away the stuff that makes you money. How are you suffering? So for me, it was that clash of ideas in terms of why is there so much waste if waste is money. And then I grew up to learn a little bit more, and I'm hoping to share with you guys exactly how we then come into this space. But one thing that I learned as a kid was you need to be imaginative. You need to think outside the box. And as kids, we used to. I used to be landfills, like I'm saying, but kids, that's where we find our material, well, to make your little cars, to make, other toys, something to play with. We take it, we put it in the back of a bicycle, make it sound like a bike. We used to make e-motor. We used to reuse. So the concept of reuse started off when we were still young, but it seems to have disappeared as we grow older because we just discard without any kind of thinking around what that actually does to the environment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that's true. That's true. Like nobody ever takes waste as is or actually takes care of the environment. We actually take everything for granted. So what you are saying is very true, and we need to change that about our society.
100%.
Yeah. So what I'd also like to know is that what's one object like a bottle, a tire, or a piece of e-waste that surprised you with how valuable it turned out to be once someone knew what to do about it or what to do with it.
Yeah, there's a kind of plastic that in my older age I learned its actual name, PET,
Okay, what's that?
polyurethane. It's your normal clear plastic bottle, right? It can be a water bottle, it can be a cold drink bottle. But learning that normally you'd buy your soft drink and then drink it and discard that bottle. But then I learned later on in life that the fleece jackets that you wear, the inners of a lot of duvets, pillows, and things like that is actually made from recycled plastic that has been processed into fiber.
Wow, okay.
Right? So whenever you see a Coca-Cola bottle, it's not just something to throw away. It's actually something that's useful. That recycling company can change into something valuable and extend its life, essentially.
Wow, okay, no, that's very interesting. When you consider how we see like how these things are just discarded, you even think about seas. You usually see seas that have a lot of like bottles that are thrown there and it causes environmental damages, whereas we can actually recycle that and even be able to make something valuable out of that. So yeah, no, it's definitely a very important thing that you are doing. Yeah, no, and it's definitely informative.
And if I can add, there's like way many things that can be created out of plastic. And that includes everything that is new that is made out of plastic. Right? So think about new bottles, toys, um, foam stands, things like that. So buyback centers being the center of the circular value chain, they can change themselves into production houses as opposed to just people who collect and move the stuff onto recyclers. So we can make like doorknobs and things like that. So that's what we're trying to do with some international NGOs, as well as municipalities, to see if we can at least put some industrialization back into the circular economy, as opposed to just having them be conveyor belts for the waste. Yeah.
No, that's very important, and they would definitely be able to. They will be able to make a lot more revenue if they're able to even convert the buyback centers as opposed to just selling the raw material for someone else to convert and then make more money.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think the economy Yeah, that's a very great thing. That's a very great thing.
I always say that a kilogram of waste plastic is worth less than a kilogram of hangers that you've made out of that plastic.
Wow.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. Okay. And then TechnoServe works on enterprise development across many sectors and countries. So how did waste management in Soweto and Ekurhuleni particularly become a priority for the organization out of so many places you could have chosen?
Um, Gauteng as a whole is is very consumer heavy. So you get a lot of household waste, and unfortunately, the bulk of the people in Gauteng would reside in places like Soweto and Ekurhuleni. The other issue is that the unemployment rates in those places are extremely high. And that doesn't even touch on the amount of waste that's discarded in those places. The landfills are overflowing.
Yeah.
So we saw those factors, and we thought, how can we be the middle ground? So not just do it for the environment, as it were, but also create jobs and meaningful jobs where we can, and also add more value to the lives of the people that live in those areas. Not only having cleaner surroundings, but also having something to take back home in terms of an income and being able to like we would say, "Kasi, balance yourself."
Yeah. No. I'm really inspired, and I can even see from the way you talk about this that this is a real passion for you.
I grew up there.
Yeah. Definitely. No, it's nice. It's very great to see that there's people who grew up in Soweto who still really do care about Soweto and who want to make a huge difference. Because for some people, they just grow up there, then they become successful, they forget about it, as.
Yeah.
And so yeah, no, it's a very great thing that you're doing. So okay, and then can you also just walk us through the program in plain terms? So who exactly does it work with? And what does support actually look like day to day?
All right. So in 2023, 2024, we started talking to the Anglo American Foundation to get a pilot running. We focused mainly on the whole value chain, really, from waste reclaimers or Abu Mahareza,
Yes.
the buyback centers themselves, which is where TechnoServe works, and then the buyers, so the recyclers, as well as the producers of the material. Right? Maybe a little bit of information or a little bit of education. The plastic or the waste industry is a highly regulated sector, right? So there are many bodies that are included. You need to talk to the likes of municipalities. You need to talk to the likes of PROs. The PROs the full name is Producer Responsibility Organizations. So now PROs like PETCO, Polyco, and them work with the EPR regulations, which are extended producer responsibility. There's a lot. Extended producer responsibility organization, or no, regulations rather, which require the producers of plastic, in this case, as an example. So Coca-Cola, PepsiCo. So basically any company that makes products that are packaged in plastic, okay, would need to pay a little bit of money to PROs, and then the PROs would use that money then to develop the buyback centers. Okay, so there's a whole chain. So to come back to your answer or to your question, we work with the waste reclaimers, but from the waste reclaimer perspective, we try to get them registered because there's a 15 cents per kilogram that gets added on for registered reclaimers, and that's paid by the PROs. right? And a lot of retailers don't know this. So part of our job is to work through the buyback centers, get the retailers registered, and at least to up the income a little bit. Okay, and then for the buyback centers, we work on the business. See, a lot of businesses, Ekasi, did not start off as businesses. Most of them start off as a way to survive, right? So as a result, a lot of them don't know what they're doing. Right?
They're surviving.
Yeah, at least in Chingsi, you know what I mean? So there's no financial management. They don't separate business income to personal income. They don't pay themselves the salary. They just swipe from the business. So that's why you find because most of the businesses not growing. It's essentially because, yes, it's successful. A lot of people are buying from the business, but the people cannot see the money because when the kid comes, they're saying, well, people are going to business. You know what I mean? So at the end of the month, you are not able to then run an audit on your own income and run your business better. The other thing is, which kind of comes from this one, is the businesses don't record their transactions, right? Meaning that you cannot prove to a bank or a lender that you're actually making money because you don't have any records of money coming into your business, right? And also access to markets. Okay, a lot of businesses suffer not because they have a bad business idea, but because the market is just not available to them. So TechnoServe comes in and we work with the business until we formalize that business and we get it investor ready. And we also link it to markets. And we sit in a very nice position as TechnoServe because we tend to have a bird's eye view of the whole market. So we can kind of see who is a potential customer for this one, and then we link them to those kinds of organizations or sectors. And this is not only for this sector; we do it for all the other programs that we run. Some have been in technology, some have been sector agnostic, and this one is in circular economy. But we generally do the same type of thing. And lastly, we partnered also with Art Labs. Uh, it's a youth development concern that's based in Cape Town. So with them, we create small micro businesses in the waste management sector that would form almost a halfway stop for the reclaimers. Because what we found out is reclaimers in most cases work for about 40 Ks, 40 to 60 Ks a day.
That's true. You see them moving on highways and
100%. So they were crazy. They work crazy hours. By 4 o'clock in the morning, these guys are in the streets already. So the buyback centers being too far apart, we've come up with a micro business or the Reacher model, which is called Recycling Champions. You should go check them out. They are in Jabulani at the Safe Hub. Yeah, so young people can go there who are interested in this kind of sector and talk to them to start off these small micro businesses. Those businesses get like a scale to weigh your material. You get a device to run the business. You get a software as well, and there's a little bit of working capital that they give you to buy the material from the waste reclaimers. So it's a very supportive little program. And then those reachers then take the materials to the buyback centers that you work with. So what this means is the buyback center gets more material, meaning they can deliver to the clients a bit faster. And the waste reclaimer gets to do multiple trips a day without having to walk all that way to that one buyback center. And then there's only one trip in a day for one load. So this means now the reclaimer can make more money. And for the micro business, there's a new young person who now can make money, right? And normally they would employ a family member or a neighbor. So that's also job creation. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. That's amazing. And to think of how we look down upon people who work in recycling in our communities, not knowing that it's a whole formal economy whereby you can get formalized and even get support through this. So it's very great work that you are doing. I'm also very surprised that you know this. So yeah, no, it's great work. It's great work that you are doing. Yeah. So, for viewers who don't deal with this daily, what does the waste problem actually look like in Soweto in the Ekurhuleni right now?
Um, and I think this goes for all townships. In most cases, there there's a lack of service or services, and sometimes you get households that are beyond the means of the municipality, right? So you will find that one yard in Soweto would have, let's say, 12 people,
Yeah.
right? And each family or each yard gets like one dustbin. Um, that is not sustainable, especially if the waste is not going to be collected regularly. What you incentivize is what happens, right? If one yard with that many people gets their dustbin filled in a very short space of time and it doesn't get collected, the the logical next step is this dustbin is going to be emptied somewhere. And that somewhere just happens to be Ghana in most cases. So there are many issues that this kind of causes, obviously. In summer, because this is a mixture of wet waste and dry waste, the smell is incredible. And the same waste during heavy rains clogs up the sewage system. So that's why you get then areas that flood continuously because of all that waste going into the drains. There's
Yeah,
there,
that's
there, are-
true.
and when things are not going well, we burn it. That's what burning does. It puts up all that smoke in the air, and it's the same smoke that we have to breathe. So there are many ways in which the extreme pollution that happens in the township affects us over and above just being an eyesore or making our environments look dirty. Yeah, so I think the situation in townships is dire. There are, places where the municipalities are really trying to help, and we are working with the municipalities to try and solve such issues. For instance, the city of Joburg pick it up. We're trying to work with to get access to the landfills so that ultimately we don't keep creating these mountains of trash, but give them an outlet to the buyback centers, right?
Okay.
And they also have co-ops that work at these landfills who are also not trained to run businesses. So that's where TechnoServe then comes in as well to try and upskill those co-ops to be regular businesses as opposed to almost like a stokvel for society type of environment.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. No. It seems that you do quite a lot. You do quite a lot, and you assist in a lot of different areas
Mhm.
in this. It's not only focused on one place. Which is very good.
Yeah.
And then in terms of municipal waste services in Gauteng, municipal waste services in Gauteng have faced serious strain. So, like aging trucks, budget shortfalls, unfunded services, how does that municipal reality shape the work TechnoServe and its partners do?
Yeah. See, TechnoServe cannot exist as an island. Our work means nothing if the municipality doesn't support it. Um, most of the buyback centers, like I said, start off as informal businesses. So they don't know anything about the zoning rules, the zoning laws in these areas. So they kind of set up in a space that they find only to find that the space belongs to the municipality and it wasn't zoned for waste management. So what then inadvertently happens is that there's then that friction between the entrepreneurs, Ekasi, who want to start waste management businesses and the municipalities themselves. That's why we're working with municipalities, including the city of Joburg, like I just mentioned, to bring them closer, right? To help them solve their own issues, which is all this waste that keeps on piling at landfills. Yeah. And we're also helping the businesses, Ekasi, get access to more material and more cleaner material. So yes, there are challenges at municipality level. Um, I think there'll always be, for one reason or the other. But us as TechnoServe, our own mission is to make sure that the value chain speaks to each other, right? So the municipality knows what the waste reclaimers are going through, what the buyback centers are going through, and as well, the buyback centers understand the needs of the municipality in terms of what waste comes from where and what needs to be removed. So yeah, our ultimate plan is to make sure that there's dialogue or continuous conversation being had between the private sector, being the private centers and the waste reclaimers, and government, being municipalities. We're also trying to work with the LG CETA to see if there are appropriate courses that we can then give to the biobank centers to function a bit better, especially around waste management licensing. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's very good because also even when I even think about it in terms of waste, it even does affect in terms of causing rodents in the township, which is a huge problem,
Yeah.
and it has health implications. So it's a very serious issue which needs to be taken seriously, So
Yeah.
TechnoServe is really making a huge difference in terms of our lives.
We try.
Yeah. No. Okay. And then what's the misconception people often have about why illegal dumping happens that you wish more people understood?
Mm. I think I kind of touched on this a little earlier.
Yeah.
About what you incentivize is what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fallacy that abantu basekhaya are dirty. It's a lie. Uh, Nobody wants to litter necessarily, and I think once the waste management sector, and I'm talking about both the private centers and reclaimers, as well as households and municipalities work together, I think we'll have a much better outcome. If we don't preach separation at source, right, which is not happening. I didn't do it before I did this job. Basically, putting plastics in one bag and putting paper in one bag. We all just throw everything in the same dustbin. Yeah. Right. I think once we kind of start selling that idea and also incentivizing it, because just telling people to do something because it's the right thing to do, it won't happen. It won't. People believe in incentives. So if you give them something, be it free recycling bags, right, for them to separate their material in, and have consistent collection of that material. Because if it's not collected, it's going to end up in the landfill or escangeni, causing the rodent that you were talking about just now. So I think it's more a PR thing. We need to have people understand the actual harm that these materials cause, and also the benefit, right? That these things, there's not just trash. It's money waiting to happen. Then I think you'll start seeing a little change in the attitudes of people in townships who will then maybe not treat the environment as a place to throw the waste, but as a place to collect the waste.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. That's true. And even in terms of the initiatives that you've spoken about, of which you are having, whereby you upskill people and then you actually even give them resources to even start off these sensors, that will definitely go a long way in motivating and changing the perception around where we stay, you know.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, no. And then what I'd also then like to know is that when a community starts engaging seriously with waste separation and recycling, what changes first? Is it visible, cleaner streets, or is it something less obvious?
I think it's something less obvious. I think, when you taking a bath and you smell fresh, you feel better. It changes even the way you think. If you're wearing your favorite shoes, you walk a little different.
Yeah, that's
So I think there's a lot to be said about the kind of change that can happen just from a psychological perspective, right? If your area all of a sudden starts looking cleaner, then you won't feel as comfortable throwing things in the street,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Um, the same person who would be walking in, let's say, Central, which gets cleaned up a bit more than Soweto, for instance, and you have a chocolate wrapper, chances of you throwing it on the ground are close to zero because you don't see any other waste where you are. But if usekasi and everything else is utoti, you don't feel like you are damaging. You're just
yeah. Doing what's
yeah. It's already like that. So I think if we focus more on separation at source, we stand a chance of forever changing an attitude towards an environment, right? Not just cleaning it up because it's clean, but keeping it that way. And I
Yeah.
think I think once you start and it starts looking clean, then people will, what you incentivize is what happens.
Yeah, yeah, and I think when we push that message a lot, then there'll also be a cultural change in our society. So more importantly, people will start teaching each other and start holding each other accountable. Sure, of which would be the ultimate solution. That's once we start holding each other accountable, then we can definitely win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's not only households that do the littering either. I mean, the businesses do a lot of that as well. Construction businesses, e-puzzle shop, all these people, they add on to this issue. So I don't think we should only blame households for not doing this. And I think it's generally the whole chain from England all the way to companies. It needs to be spoken about a little bit more, and we need to communicate clearer what the actual harm is. But more, we need to talk about the benefits because people run benefits and not to what's right.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, okay, no, that's good. That's good. And then in terms of health and safety risks, from illegal dumping, from informal waste picking are real. And how does this program address safety, not just income for the people doing this work?
Yeah. The reason why it's so regulated is because it's that dangerous. Generally, when you jump into a dustbin, you don't know what's in there. There could be needles, there could be poison, there could be all manner of things. There could be acid in there. And in most cases, there's expired stuff in those bags. So PPE becomes crucial, even though you don't really see it much when you drive around and you see these guys. But it's something that we push wholeheartedly as an organization. We actually work with ARO, the African Reclaimers Organization. They work with waste reclaimers in terms of registering them, helping them with PPE, training them on health and safety, and making sure that they know how to also sort the material that they're looking for. and identifying the material that's worth some money. So there's a lot of work happening from a reclaimer's perspective, and the buyback centers that we work with, we also give them PPE. We delivered PPE about 2 months ago to the buyback centers that we work with in Soweto and Ekurhuleni for the staff members, because when the material gets there, they still have to handle it, sort it, remove caps. There's a lot of work that happens before they bail it and send it on. So we take safety very seriously, because ultimately, if your employee is sick and not at work, then your operation takes a knock. So yeah, that's the kind of message we're trying to spread to both the reclaimers and the buyback centers that we work with, especially health and safety. That it's extremely important, because it doesn't also only affect the person; it affects your business as well.
No, that's true. That's true. And it's a great thing to see that you're taking a holistic approach in terms of the support that you give. It's not only in terms of market access and financial access, but you also do take notice, and you also take important you know the importance of health and safety as well as assisting in that regard. So
waste reclaimers are arguably the most important part of this chain, because without them, material doesn't get to the buyback centers. Without them, the buyback center doesn't exist, essentially. So we have to take care of them. We need to make sure that they at least make a livable wage from these materials. That's why we try to step in at a pricing uh, perspective, from a buyback center perspective, to say, instead of buying this material for 3 rands per kg, buy it for 4 rands. But for you to do this, you need to up what you get from your recycler. So we look at the whole chain, see how we can secure good pricing from a recycler perspective, and then it trickles down to the buyback center, which then trickles down to the retailer.
No, of which is very important, because that's one thing that I actually realized. There's one guy that I saw, actually spoke to him, actually said that there are some trucks that do go around collecting the recycled material, but they charge for transportation and stuff, and they used to complain about that no, what they charge is too much, so I'd much rather walk 40 kilometers in order for me to be able to get a better return as opposed to using these. So I think it's a very good thing that you're also looking at that in terms of making sure that they get a fair remuneration for their efforts.
No. It's extremely important. The amount of work, actual work that these guys do is crazy. And we believe that it needs to be recognized, and they have to be taken care of. Uh, either through transport, like the micro businesses that we support. We give them an entrepreneur who has either a buggy, who lives around the area, to pick up the material for them. So yeah, that's one other way that we are trying to cut that gap that has existed for since I was a kid.
No, that's true. That's true. And it's a very important thing, but it's surprising how it's not really taken that seriously. And you doing this really does show us how important it is. And it's a very great thing to see that someone is actually doing something to make a difference. Yeah. And then let's talk numbers and livelihood. So what kinds of income or jobs does this program actually creates, and for whom?
Okay. So we measure at two areas. So for the buyback centers and the micro businesses. The micro businesses are wholly startups, right? So these are people who didn't have an income before, but now have an income. We've started just in the pilot phase. We started about 20 micro businesses. So there's 20 young people who now have businesses, and each of them employs about 1 to 2 people, right? So you can then extrapolate that, and build just the micro businesses. And then for the buyback centers, we supported about 26 buyback centers between Soweto and Ekurhuleni. Those buyback centers, we supported about 284 jobs in the 15-month period. Um, the buyback centers that we work with have mostly increased their revenue by at least 15%. So we've moved the needle, but we'd like to move it even further.
Yeah.
In terms of impact. That's why, as we sit here, the program is not only now focusing on Soweto and the Ekurhuleni, we are doing the whole Gauteng, including the Val. So we're looking for buyback centers in those areas to join the program, and hopefully we get to develop them ever.
Yeah. No, that's great stuff, and it's amazing. You're saying that you did all of that in 15 months. So wow, imagine if you can do so much in 15 months and create so many employment opportunities, what can be done? And as you're expanding the program now, that the opportunities are endless, So
100%.
yeah, no, that's absolutely great stuff, and it's definitely motivating to see such stuff being done.
Yeah, so tell your friends to join.
No, definitely. I'm thinking of joining myself. Yeah. And then buyback centers sit right in the middle of this value chain between individual waste pickers and bigger recyclers. Does it take to help a small buyback center actually grow into a sustainable business?
So the very first thing is changing the mindset, reminding them that they are a business, right, and not just a hustle. I think most of the work needs to happen there. Once the person sees whatever they're running as an actual operation, then they 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 feel more urged to do something about their business. Even when they don't want to wake up, they force themselves to wake up. We generally come in terms of clarifying all these concepts to them. What is a business model? What does cash flow mean? What's net income versus gross income? What does cost of goods mean? Right? These things help them think a little better about the operations that they run, and most of all, they can actually check the money that they make and reinvest it in the business, which is another thing that's missing from a lot of SMEs. We focus a bit too much on making the money than reinvesting the same money into the business. So that's why a lot of our businesses will then remain stagnant over a period of time, because we are not growth mindset oriented. So yeah, we look at the businesses from the ground up and say, okay, what gaps are in this business? What do we need to solve? And what do we need to change? Do they need access to funding? Do they need access to markets? Do they have a business plan? Do they know what their business model is? And those types of things. And once we understand those, we then set goals for that business to say, okay, by this time you need to have achieved this, and we have business advisors that are on the ground. So every month they will talk to the beneficiaries, either on site or virtually, to follow up on tasks and report back to each other, because there are things that the BA would then do and some things that the BBC would do. So there's a lot of mentorship over and above the training that we do, but not everyone wants training. So the ones that don't need training, we offer mostly mentorship. And we help them with the access to funding or access to whatever it is that they're looking for. That's within our power.
Yeah, okay. So that just basically means that it's not a one size fits all. You basically look at what the business stage, what that business is, what stage that business is in, and what support they require. Then you take it from there. And one of the greatest things that I like about this is that you've been emphasizing the challenges that these businesses face. So it's not like you're just going there, you just doing what you don't know. You fully do understand their challenges. They said that they walk very long kilometers and stuff. So when you go there and really assist them and make it and give them assistance that really does make a difference to the business, which is it's a very good thing. And in terms of access to finance is often the hardest area for small recycling businesses. And how does the program help owners become investment ready? And what does the process look like in practice?
Yeah, I think I touched on this one also a little bit.
Yes.
Um, like because businesses, especially the SMEs in townships, are not started off formally. Um, None of them are seen as businesses, right? And because of that, they don't keep records. And in most cases, they don't know what the funders are looking for, because it's either written in big jargon, investment language, and you find that the person Ekasi doesn't know what derivatives are, doesn't know what equity means. So there's already then that gap between the business owner and the funder. Right? So we speak to the funders on behalf of the businesses that we work with, and then we translate same information to the businesses, to say, okay, you need a business plan. You don't know how to. We'll help you put that together. You need financials. If it's an existing businesses, you need audited financials for the last 3 years or so. Most businesses don't have that. So this causes that friction again between the funders and the businesses, because the funder cannot take a risk on a business whose potential or progress they don't understand, right? Because otherwise, then they might just be throwing money down the drain.
Yeah.
So we help these businesses get their documents and compliance together to get ready for the funding. If there are things that we need to change from an operational perspective, that's exactly what we focus on, right? We focus on, are you keeping records? Are you paying salaries? Are you FIDA compliant? Is your tax clearance in place? So all those things we would help the business get together, all in the effort of trying to get them funding ready. Access to market actually comes into that area as well, because the funder needs to know whether you have customers or not. If you have customers, they know that, okay, our money is going to come back. But if you don't have customers, then the question is, where are you miraculously going to find customers after we give you the money? Yeah. Right? So we help with that end as well, to make sure that you at least are a sustainable business once you've done it.
Okay. No, that's very good. At least you don't just you basically hold the business's hand, like based on whatever needs they have. So that's very good. And then the response, how's the response so far in terms of the businesses that you're engaging with? How are they? Are they willing to be assisted? Are you seeing any difference after your intervention? How is it going?
It's a it's a mix of things. Sometimes you get very good businesses. So people who come to us wanting to learn, and wanting to be helped. And then on the other hand, you get people who just want grants. All they know is Kunima, right? You try to tell them, but you're running a business wrong. No, are you giving me money? So in most cases, what we found is, if if you are not a self-driven person, you are very hard to work with. So most of our recruitment criteria looks at things like commitment to the business, commitment to learning, and whether that person would be able to participate fully in the programs that we offer. Because ultimately we curate the whole offering to fit each and every business. But like I said earlier, each business has its own issues. So if we try to give you what we believe would help your business and you're not taking it, then we are unable to see results, which also affects us because we have to report to donors and say we've increased jobs or we've created jobs. So the kinds of businesses that we work with are very important. But to answer your question, most of the businesses that come are willing to learn and are willing to grow. But you will find the entitled ones who will always want something in return. You ask them for their monthly income, and they say, "Yeah, but I want to make money." Which really kills the whole program mission going forward. So I think we need more enterprising people in our townships, people who want to go into business for the sake of wanting to go into business and wanting to grow, as opposed to a get rich quick scheme, which a lot of people are attracted to. And I think gendering might have something to do with that. That's not that kind of meeting.
Yeah, no, we will set up another day for that one. It's a whole different topic, you know. Yeah. No, but I do understand what you're saying. The reason why I'm actually asking you this is so that I can actually highlight to people that it's not all good and well, you know, it's not that simple. There's challenges and it's not that simple to get this money. So based on the challenges that you've seen with the businesses that you've dealt with, what advice would you give to other people who actually would be watching this and would be who would want to join this? What advice would you give to them, maybe based on the shortcomings of the other businesses that you've dealt with?
Yeah, opportunities are all over the place. There are support structures for all kinds of businesses, really, if you look around Marina. So if you have an idea that you believe could work, put it out there. Put it out there, test it out in the market. If it wins, it wins. If it doesn't, you've learned a lesson that you can then take on to your next venture. But do not just sit on an idea, and don't be afraid to share your ideas as well. A lot of people say, "I can't share an idea because I believe someone is going to steal that idea." Nothing could be further from the truth. A business is not an idea. A business is execution. So if it's your idea, you know exactly how you're going to execute it. And if I steal your idea now, my execution might not be the same, and I might not be as successful as you are. So even if someone steals your idea, they're not going to do it exactly how you did it, right? And businesses, if you start with an idea, in most cases, it doesn't end do the same as it started. Because a lot of things happen in the middle. You have to change ideas, you have to change direction, you have to pivot here and there. And sometimes because you're in the right place at the right time, you get an opportunity. Things that would not happen to other people, but would happen to you.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So
That's
get
true.
out there, put the idea out there, get it working. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Yeah.
Don't wait for perfection. Um, do the minimum viable product is what we call it. Put it out there, see how the market reacts to it. If there's traction, try and grow it.
Yeah. No, that's very inspiring. That's very inspiring. Yeah. And then in terms of just one last question then. So what does turning waste into worth mean to you personally?
Um, for me, it's a mindset change. Um, what I would like to see, and there's a selfish kind of thinking. I would like to see the things or material and the people that society has discarded for the most part having their value realized and recognized by everybody. And in this case, I'm talking about the waste management sector, right? The Bomachereza, the buyback centers are seen as dirty businesses. My my wish is that they one day get the recognition that they deserve for cleaning up our environment and also creating jobs because ultimately that's what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's definitely true. That's definitely true. And just to pick your mind, in closing, so as you are an organization that works all over the world, how are you seeing things like South Africa compared to maybe the rest of Africa or the rest of the world in terms of these similar programs that you're doing here, compared to like other places where you operate?
Funny enough, there are more similarities than differences in and not just the types of businesses in Africa. There might be subtle differences, but there are more similarities than none. For instance, we work in Peru and Chile as well. The types of businesses that are there are very similar to the businesses that are here. So the nice thing about them being a global organization is that we get to see what's working in another region, and then we implement it in a different region and see how it works. And in most cases, we find success doing it that way.
Okay.
Like we call as shop here, but in Kenya it might be called a duka, right? But it's essentially the same operation. So a program that works for South Africa has potential to work in Kenya with just a tweak or two here and there. So most of the businesses that we work with are similar in that way. And maybe one other thing to kind of report on is the the hunger for business from young people in Africa is off the charts. More so in Upper Africa than South Africa, but we are trying to get more young people to be interested in businesses here.
Okay. No, that's very interesting. And let's say that more so in Upper Africa than in Africa, but that's a story for an English.
Yeah, sure,
And
sure.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for your time. It has definitely been an eye opener for me. And I've definitely learned a lot. If my peers don't take up this opportunity, I'm going to take it up.
No,
Then,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you for inviting TechnoServe. And like I said, if people are looking for opportunities, they just need to get out there. We have AI right now that is either about to take jobs or create jobs,
Yeah.
right? So we need to kind of decide as a people, especially with the advent of AI, whether we are going to be the ones that get replaced or we are going to be the ones that use the AI to better ourselves.
Yeah. And then South Africa is such a young demographic because I think we have some of the youngest demographic compared to the rest of the world.
Mhm.
So when you're talking about things like AI, it's up to us whether we use it to our advantage or we watch by and then let other people use it and we just look and we don't take any action. So
Yeah, you don't need to go far. Sorry, there's the last one. You don't even have to go far. You can already see a lot of retail stores being automated. Um, your fast food chains don't have tellers anymore. You order your food either on your device or on a big screen. So the stuff that were there are not there anymore. Supermarkets are going in that direction, where you're going to have cashierless tills where you walk in and you just walk out with your stuff. That's a lot of jobs that are going to go as well. So if we don't look at these things with a sober eye and ask ourselves where we are in that picture, I think South Africa is going to be in trouble.
yeah, that's true. That is true. And like that, I would like to close it like that. Thank you very much for your time. It has definitely been an eye opener for me, and I wish you nothing but the best in future. And this will definitely inspire all the youth from Soweto. I'm also from Soweto. I'm definitely inspired. I'm sure when I go back, I'll definitely be able to inspire more of my people. That's So thank you very much for it.
Thanks for having us, man.
Thank you, Charles.
Great.